like to introduce Chris Price. He'll be doing our presentation today. Thank you for your time today, Chris.
No problem at all. Thanks, Kent.
No worries. So you've got some templates and some structural items here that you're going to show us and how we can maximise efficiency with our Revit modelling using these, correct?
That's it, yep. So I'll be starting going through the templates and everything associated to that. So a lot of the system family suites we have that are also available, but a lot of it's also included directly in the templates themselves. I will be demonstrating the full multidisciplinary template with a focus of obviously beginning with architectural and then quickly going over structural and MEP as well. And then we'll jump into the structural content and the features in that.
Sounds terrific.
All right, so with that, I'll get stuck into it. So hopefully everyone can see my screen and it doesn't lag too much. Just let us know if it does lag too much or if I'm commentating too quickly and then the screen hasn't caught up to where I'm actually talking about. So I'll try to pause every now and then to keep it all up to date. So I've just basically started a new project here using the multidisciplinary template. The main differences between the disciplines basically is the multidiscipline template has everything, the architectural has the structural and MEP stuff purged out, and similarly for the other disciplines. So this is our starting view. You'll see there's some information about how to start up a new project in here. So for new project startup, begin in the ground floor working view and the architectural discipline views and delete this note. It talks about this template. Obviously we're giving, if you do purchase the template, then it is a starting point. Feel free to customize it to suit your particular needs. We've got things like model disclaimers built in there that are ready to go. Just insert your company names in the appropriate places. When you are issuing the model, you have spaces to specify what your LOD require or is and what your level of information is, and any authorized uses that you're giving as part of the model. You'll see I've also included some drafting standards on here just so people can quickly see them as a glance. Obviously you don't need to keep that there if this is going to go out to an external party when you're issuing your models. But just so we can very quickly get an idea of what the graphic standards are in here. So turn off thin lines. So everything we've tried to, although ANZRS doesn't cover everything, we've tried to abide by similar sort of principles and expand ANZRS to cover more items. So within the line styles themselves, we have a whole bunch. We have a look in our settings. You'll see we have a whole bunch of ones initially with an asterisk next to them that are fixed at a particular line weight. That is, they don't change line weights based on the scale of the view. So I've used pen weights 11 to 16 to do that. So that way when you draw a particular 0.18 line, it's always going to be 0.18, whether it's you're drawing on a 1 to 500 plan or a 1 to 2 plan. And then you've got the ones that do scale. So you've got black 01 being the pen weight and then the pattern, the line pattern. You will see with all the line patterns themselves, we have numerous ones in there for various different systems. And they've all been like out of the box stuff tends to be spaced quite large, which doesn't work particularly well when you're drawing short segments. So these ones tend to be a bit tighter than the out-of-the-box line patterns. In terms of textiles, so there's a range of textiles that are included. There's also a range of different leader options that are included in those as well. So if we have a look in our arrowheads, you'll see we've got a standard arrow, dot fill, dot open, stair pass, stair start, and standard tick marks. We also have, in terms of our text styles, you'll see, can everyone still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you good. Maybe just the attendees raise their hands again if they can.
Okay, it's all right. Everything went quiet for a second, so I just wanted to double check. All right, I'll keep going. So in terms of our text styles, we have a range of text styles available. You'll see the way they're named is basically the standard that we've used, and then the size of the text, but we've also included a description of when you might actually use that particular size text. So 2.5 is for general notes, this particular one's for schedule headers, these are for important notes, these are for headings, these are for schedule titles, and these are for special circumstances. There might be big points of interest that you just want to stand out, or something that's quite small that you need to fit in. So they've got special cases next to them. But the intent is that there's kind of like a manual built into it that explains, how things are done, so everyone who's using the template does things consistently. Same sort of thing with fill patterns. So we have a range of fill patterns that are set up, filled regions. And then in terms of the fill patterns, we have many preloaded. Again, they all follow a standard naming system. So ones that are drafting generally are cut patterns. So you'll see they'll have a cut suffix on them. And there's a good range there to start with. And similarly with our model patterns, they have numerous options and they're all consistently named. So you can quickly find the ones you need. Work pan, there we go. So then, why isn't pan working? Pan, there we go. Okay, so then we have our dimension styles. So we have continuous arrow dimensions. So we have an arrow as a leader in arc, radial, and diameter, and normal. Then we have tick-based versions of those. We have ordinate dimensions set up, and we have baseline dimensioning. So you'll see that's all one dimensions. In terms of spot elevations, so if I just quickly go into a model view. We have a number of different options set up there as well. So we have elevations. We have ones that have RL as a prefix, so they're based off survey point, finish FFL, RL, one's for plan, one for elevations. So they'll have the triangle as opposed to a dot elevation marker. And similarly with coordinates, you'll see we have northings and eastings as well as XYZs, well, based off survey points. So you can always tell what coordinate system it's using, whether it be project base point or survey point.
Nice.
And then similarly with spot arrows, we have arrow-based ones as well as percentage-based for pipes and things like that from the MEP side.
Excellent.
Okay, let's go back to my starting view. All right, in terms of the title block, we've tried to include a good out-of-the-box title block. It has a number of features. So if we select the title block here, you'll see we can turn the issue stamp and the north pointer on and off. At the type level, we can control the north direction. So you'll see the type is actually included in the description. Sorry, the north direction is included in the type description. Whether or not it's a cover sheet, so the cover sheet will turn on a big header up the top for the project name, so you can have that sort of data available. Real property description, so RPDs, local authority, all that sort of stuff, parish. The scale bar that's up the side here, and the issue stamp. So you can select from a range of different types of issue stamps. And because this is a type parameter, basically every sheet that's using this particular type would have that issue stamp updated. So basically you can do a select all instances and swap out very quickly all the particular issue stamps for another one, for example, if the project's moving from one stage to another. But you can still have some be different if need be. We have a guide grid built in here as well. So if I select that, you'll see we have an A1 landscape vertical guide grid with 20mm spacings, and it's a little bit lighter than the out-of-the-box one, again, just so it's not so distracting. It's just supposed to help us line things up between sheets. And then when it comes to view titles, we have a number of different options available as well. So with ANZRS, we have none, obviously. Then we have ones with detail information at the side or elevation. So these are like if there's standard details and you don't actually want a description. So it's not using the view name as such. It's using just a fixed bit of text. And then we have plan. So this one's not to scale, so you don't actually want to display the scale in this case. This one has a back reference and the scale. This one's just got the scale with no back reference. So you've got numerous different combinations available. So plan being hexagon based, and then your circular being, standard being circular based. And then you've got ones without the header at all, so it's just the text. So again, you've got lots and lots of different options available. We tried to make this as flexible as possible, so you don't have to go in and edit families and things like that. All you need to do is just pick the one that's suitable for your particular project or your particular graphic standards. All right, so let's move on. We'll go now to, so as this suggests, for a new project startup, begin in the ground floor working view. So we're going to go to the ground floor working view, which is this one here that I've already highlighted. All right, so there's more instructions here again to make people do things a consistent way. So this talks about your new project startup and getting your survey drawing in and Revit's origin and getting the coordinates correct, basically. So it steps you through step by step, and once obviously you've got all that set up, you can delete the note.
Yeah, I know from my experience on support that was something that people struggled with a lot, Chris, so it's great to have some instructions there on that.
Yep, that's the intent. I get asked that question every other day. How do I get my coordinates set up properly in true north, rotated the correct way and all that sort of stuff? So why not have it built into the template so that it's there every time?
Yep.
All right, so then we have our grids. Now with our grids, you'll see there's actually two versions. There's a standard and a small. So this whole template is set up out of the box. It's set up for A1, but everything that's in it has a switch to be basically scaled down for A3, so you don't have massive elevation markers, massive section heads, massive grid heads when you do when you are using an A3 sheet, for example. And there is an A3 title block included as well from memory. So yeah, so with that particular one, you can see we can switch to the smaller version. We also have our elevations, so same sort of thing here with our elevations. If I have a look at the elevation type, at the moment it's just using elevation tag standard, right? But you'll see there's actually a small version as well, so we can scale that down as well. With the elevations, we also have room elevations, which don't look like that. They have a totally different appearance. So if I was to quickly actually we'll get to that later. We'll skip over that for now. Scope boxes. So we have two scope boxes in the template. That's what these two orange things here are. So this one's the building scope box. It's called building. And this is the site scope box. And basically all our levels and our grids and our view extents are connected to scope boxes. So what that means is if you go and import your site plan and you work out how big your building footprint's going to be, maybe it's smaller than this, maybe it needs more space. All you need to do is go and tweak the sizes of the scope boxes, and all your view extents update, all your grid extents, all your level extents, all it changes automatically, so you don't have to go through all your views and make all these minor tweaks to them. The only thing you would need to do, obviously, is make your grids relevant to where your actual building is, and maybe push your elevation markers out a bit if it needs to get bigger. But yeah, it makes life a lot easier in terms of scaling the template to suit your particular project without having to go and make lots and lots of changes.
Yep.
So before we get onto the sheets, there is a drawing series note document in the Legends. So if we scroll down here, you'll see Xrev drawing series notes. So this is basically how the drawing numbering has been set up in the template. So we have a discipline prefix, a drawing series, a separator, and then an increment in 2-digit numbers. So basically we get 100 sheets per series. And then these are what the series are intended to be. Obviously you can totally change the numbering system to suit your own specific standards if these aren't right for you, but out of the box we have put some thought behind the series and numbering system that we've implemented. So you're welcome to take that or leave it as needed. So moving down to the sheets. So this is what I was getting at with the cover sheet. So you'll see it's actually a parameter in there. So it's pulling all the actual project information. So it's not some bit of text that we just plonked up the top. We have our big statement 3D view on the home page. We've got some schedules that are filtered by discipline. All the schedules and all the standard notes and everything are done consistently. They all use view templates, and we'll get more into the view templates later. So you'll see here this is the RPD data. So we have local authority, county, parish, and RPD. We have our site schedule already preset up here, so the lot number and the area. So if you've got multiple lots, maybe there's easements and things like that, you can list them all down as well. With the title block, the only thing you need to obviously do if you just want to use these ones is put your company logo and address details within there, and feel free to amend the height as needed. So flicking through some of these sheets, so our site plan has a whole bunch of different schedules on it. So we have our keynote legend, earthworks schedules, parking schedules, site cover schedules. We have on our general agent plans, we have room schedules. So pulling out the number, name, department, level, area, finishes of all the different components, and the occupancy. Again, standard notes and legends. We haven't included any out-of-the-box standard notes. We've just basically provided a template. I understand that everyone's standard notes are likely to be different. Slab setup plans. So again, some base information there. What you will notice is with the guide grids, between sheets of the same scale, all the views line up perfectly. So they've all been set up to line up at that one location there. So it does mean if you are flicking through a PDF set that's really quickly, things aren't jumping around all over the place because everything's been lined up the same way. Reflected ceiling plans. Now looking at building elevations, so regards to our levels. So we'd include one basement level and 4 levels, so ground floor 1, 2, and 3. And 3 might be a pitching point. You might want to change that out of your template if you don't do a lot of medium rise or anything, or if maybe you do more high rise, then you may want to add more levels and adjust the scope box accordingly. But out of the box, we thought this was a good compromise between too small and too big. With the levels, there's all smarts built into those as well. So you'll see there's actually 4 different level types. So one's based off project base point with the elevation. Say you don't want to list the elevation, you can switch to the one that just gives the level name. And then one's off survey point. And also, if you want, you'll see there's a descriptor field here. So let's say I had a level, and I wanted to have, so it's a 2-story building, and I want a ceiling level to show on each of my floor plans. Can everyone still hear me? It's gone quiet again.
Yep.
Oh, good. So I might have, a ceiling level on both levels, but I don't want to say ceiling level for level 1, ceiling level for level 2. I just want it to say ceiling level. So, I might, let's just quickly do this and I'll undo it in a minute. Let's say there's a ceiling at 3 meters. So I might set this one here to be description. That'll do. So you'll see in the level type there is one here called filled with elevation override name. So now I've selected that one. You'll see I can actually have this say ceiling, because one of the limitations of levels is they can't have the same names, so they each have to be unique. Whereas because this is a separate field, I can have ceiling show up on all of them. So that's the why that's there and the benefit of it. So we'll just undo that for the moment. Moving on. So in terms of our schedules, we have glazing schedules set up and door schedules, and these are all obviously working with all the other Xrev content that has been created, so it'll all work seamlessly with each other. With the finishes and things like that, again, there's notes on here on how they work. So filter schedule using your coding or keynoting to separate internal and external finishes, and you can use the keynote or the mark as the code. On the structural side, consistent, again, if you are multidiscipline. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of standard sheets set up for those as well. And similarly, we have the same thing for electrical, mechanical, and hydraulic. So in terms of our tagging, there are numerous tags loaded in, and for each one of those tags, for each category, there's one family for all your tags. So you might have a whole bunch of let's say door tags, for example, but it's all in the one family here. So you'll see this is the one that it uses by default currently, a circle with a mark over 2 lines. But you'll see there's actually a whole bunch of different types all set up within that one. So again, depending on what your particular standards are, you might have a circle on one line, you might have a mark on one line, so without any shape around it. You might want the panel height by the width by the plus width B. You want to include thickness. Maybe you want it in a box. Maybe you want the type mark up the top with a mark below it. So there's numerous options built in there as well. And likewise for a window tag, where's the scroll? Why is it not selected? All right, so I need to load that, which I'll show you now. So if we go into our templates, annotations, so there's our window tags, and you'll see we have again different shape options. So in an octagon, we have just height by width. Do you want the models? So maybe it says 2412 or something like that. Maybe you want circles, maybe you want rectangles. There's numerous options available. So that same sort of thing applies for every category of tag. There is a multitude of options based on standard graphics, standard Australian graphic standards that people use for their documentation and tagging purposes. All the fonts used are Arial Narrow. So if you do use a different font, then obviously you might need to make some tweaks to that, but that's all you would need to do. Or adopt Arial Narrow. Obviously, it's the simplest solution. With our U references, so we have U reference tags. Where are we? right in front of me and I can't see it. There it is. All right, so with our view reference tags, we have plan continuations, we have reference markers, so maybe you want to have it show up in a wad of text or just the sheet number. So instead of writing in your text note, refer to SO200, you could actually set it up so you actually go refer to ... or space and leave a space for it and then place this tag in your text note. And that way it's hyperlinked and smart information that links to that particular view. So obviously you can select what type of view you want and what particular view you actually want to use in that particular reference. So that's the point of those ones. Color fill legends. What's up in there? Color fill legends. So there's just one standard type set up in there. Again, uses aerial narrow, 7.5mm swatches sort of thing. Basically everything has been set up. You'll know because of that ANZARS prefix or an Xrev prefix, depending on the case may be. All right, so moving on to the architectural stuff. So I just go back to my floor plan. All right, so we have a bunch of ramp types that are set up. So we have concrete in situ, 1 in 8, 1 in 14, 1 in 15, as well as plywood options. So these ones are thickness, 170mm thick. This is a solid triangular mass, and this is a thickness as well. So if we look at the properties, you'll see all the materials are applied. All the materials are named as per ANZRS. We'll get to materials shortly. And it's all set up. There's metadata already set up for scheduling purposes. There's identity data, so you know it was one of the Xrev created ones and not some import from something that's been copied externally. So that's those. We then have our stairs. So there's a range of stairs. We have ceramic tiled stairs. So it's literally just the tile finish for use on in-place stairs, for example. And there is instructions in here. So there's a type comment here that says use with in-place stairs. So you might do that if you've got a curved stair in Revit. I don't know. Those who know that curved stairs in footprint can sometimes create a hole in the middle. So a lot of the times you end up creating an in-place stair. And then you might want to put a tile finish on that, so you could use this to put that on top. So then you've got PFC stringers, PFC with steel treads, PFC with timber treads, fixed size treads, so these are steel pan treads with a lipped profile. We have 300 plate with concrete treads, timber enclosed, various different size cast in place options, and precast as well. Let's get out of that. What I'm up to. All right, so let's look at the system families that are in here. So I've got a separate project where I've got them all pre-placed so we can see them easier. So ceilings-wise, remembering this is a floor plan, so we're not seeing the hatch patterns, but we've got some tags in here tagging some of the data that's in them. So look, if we look at the schedule for ceilings, you'll see these are all the different ceiling types we have. So we have fibre cement, insulated panels for various thicknesses, MDF, plasterboard, different types of plasterboard, whether it be fire rated, standard or wet area, concealed grid plywood ceilings, perforated plywood, suspended grids in different sizes, some acoustic, some not. All that data, description data is there ready to be tagged and scheduled, so type comments, the model, particular colours, who the manufacturer is. Obviously this is all generic content. All the assembly code and Omni-class stuff has been assigned where applicable, and the identity data as well. So going back up, then we have all our floors. So this is the floors suite. Not all of this is in the template, but you know, the bulk of the types are, just not the full color ranges and all the different versions of those. So it's slightly less in there. So there's the option to get all the floor suite, or you can go and just get the template, which has some of it in there. There's instructions here on how to get it from your from the floor file into your project, and how to set up your materials and all that sort of stuff as well. You'll see these are all set up with proper rendering appearances and stuff, which we'll look at in a minute in the materials. And let's just go down to the floor schedule. So again, we've got all the metadata in there. They're all the different types. So we have numerous carpet, asphalt, concrete options, so bond deck, condeck, honed concrete, in situ, precast, rubber floors, MDF, granite, all the different stone options, carpet tiles, ceramic tiles, sandstone tiles, travertine, plywood, tongue and groove timber, anti-static vinyl, and other types of vinyl. You'll see that finishes have a model of finish, so they can very easily be filtered out of your slab set down plans and things like slab set out plans and floor finish plans, so you can differentiate between the two. We have depth information, so that those thicknesses can all be tagged and scheduled as needed. Function data set correctly, structural materials being set where applicable, and again, assembly codes and all that sort of stuff has been assigned. So with our materials, there is, I think there's about 1,000 materials in the template, sorry, in the material suite, and probably 50% of that is in the actual template available. And with every single material, it has obviously all the schedule data assigned, but also let's fix so every material has a graphics asset assigned, an appearance, a physical, and a thermal asset. And they're all done consistently, and they're all render ready. So everything is ready to create photorealistic rendering or connect up to a third-party real-time rendering engine like Autodesk Live or Enscape or one of those other systems. It has thermal data that's all calculated and set properly. It has all the identity data for scheduling and tagging. So yeah, there's numerous options in there. So if we quickly just go back to the floor plan for materials, I'll just scan over some of them for you. Set this to realistic mode. Now obviously this is just realistic mode, it's not showing the true quality of the way these render, but you'll see we've got all our steel pan profiles, we've got tiles, we've got stone, ceiling tiles, roof tiles, turf, millions of different timber options. With all the timber options and a lot of these materials, they have been set up as procedural materials. That is, they can very, very easily be changed to have a different tile pattern. So if you didn't want a running bond, or you didn't want stacked, or you wanted a Flemish bond, or all those options are configurable within here.
Yep, nice.
So I know if I just look at, that's not a board. Let's pick one that is a board. This one. Sorry, I just turned into a dog. All right, so if I enlarge this a bit, hopefully you can see it. It's a bit hard, I know, at this resolution, and probably streaming stuff, you might not be able to see the quality of that, but you can see This has been set up as a tile. So if I was to go edit tiles, and that's a bug in Revit, which is annoying. Oh, I add another tile. Now I stuffed it up. All right, so yeah, this is how it should look. So, you know, I might change the pattern. I might change the tile count, so they can be wider boards, they can be thinner boards, all that sort of stuff is really, really easy to modify without having to go and create a new texture map image file to use from it. Yeah. So they have those benefits. The negatives to those procedural maps being that tools like Enscape and those sorts of programs don't like procedural maps currently, but I have been speaking with Enscape and I know that they are working on that, so hopefully it's not too far away. I should not have done that. Sorry, I just zoomed extents on all the materials. It takes a little bit longer when I do that for it to do it in realistic mode. Okay, so that was materials. What was I up to? What's next? So railings. So with our railings, again, same sort of instructions up the top. This particular one, the glass panels have been created as separate families, and they can be hosted to stairs. You just set the, so you'll see there's some properties in here. You set the riser and tread depth, and it automatically slope it as such. I'll show those in 3D, so obviously it's a bit easier to see. There's my railings there. All right, so we don't include tons in the template. These are all these are in the template. Okay, so you'll see that's the actual railing in this case, and then the glass panels are separate. So you can control their spacings and set them exactly how you want in real life. All these ones are set up so they are done as support, so you can go and position the supports wherever you need them or add additional supports. Similar sorts of things with these ones. Everywhere you split the line, you can put a post in. So you have absolute control over where the posts go. And steel plate versions, top of wall type ones, timber handrails with stainless steel wall brackets and things like that. And again, they're all named in a consistent way, so you can work them all out fairly easily. And obviously all the metadata and stuff is in there for tagging and scheduling purposes. Next one, roofs. So again, same sort of thing with roofs. We have numerous options in here. Different sheeting profiles, and these are generic. So, you know, we've tried to describe the sheeting profile rather than say it's a clip block or whatever it might be. So if we look at our roof schedule, you can see we have concrete tiles, terracotta tiles, glazed insulated panels, metal sheetings, so angle swage, corrugated, flat corrugated, flat pan, dual layer timber, all that sort of stuff. So all that data again is in there. Colors are set up under model, so it can be tagged as well. And finally, walls. So you'll see with all our walls, we have, again, all the types are entered consistently. We have descriptions against every one, type comments, model, you know, function data, the fire ratings. These are all generic, so I haven't obviously given them real fire ratings. That's up to you, but they are set up so if I select here, you'll see there is a load and a non-load value. And then similarly with our acoustic rating, we have our RW and our RWCTR value. And I've just, out of the box, we've just set them at the minimum so you can tweak them to suit. There are some type marks assigned to the most common wall types. Again, feel free to amend that to suit your specific standards. And then we've got our structural materials and all the metadata for assembly codes in OmniClass and stuff assigned. So we have a look at those in 3D. Okay, you'll see we have curtain wall based battens, vertical and horizontal, various thicknesses. We have different curtain walls with center glazed and face glazed, front faced, back faced, timber and aluminium framed options. We have stacked wall with brick and cladding or block and cladding. And then we have, numerous other options in here for tiles, even hexagonal tiles and things like that. And they are, again, all set up render ready. And the textures have all been lined up perfectly with the hatch patterns, so you can use those as a set out point and have, when you do your render, it'll all line up accordingly.
And I did have a question. Are those hatch patterns exact?
Yes.
So they match exactly the size of the block, etc.?
Yes, they do.
Fantastic.
All right, so yeah, that's what's in terms of the system families that are in there. Let's go back to the template. We're nearly finished going through the template, and then we'll hopefully have some time to go over the structural stuff. Where am I? I'm in the wrong version. This one. So going back to template. So yeah, obviously on the structural side, we have all the structural settings have been assigned as appropriate. We have, let's go back down to our floor plan or a floor plan. We have all foundation slabs set up and named particularly. You can see the strength of the concrete's been set in there as well. There are more options in the materials for different strengths if you need them, but out of the box, they're the ones we've set up in the slab types themselves. Reinforcement settings, rebar cover settings have been assigned, so there's numerous options in there. On the systems tab, so all our HVAC stuff. So all this stuff is basically as per BIM Map Oz, so I'm not going to go through that. If you are aware of BIM Map Oz, you'll know what's set up in that particular side of things. On the analyze side, we have a numerous color schemes in here. So we have rooms by number, floor finishes, occupancy name and department. We have areas by classification, name, area and type. Areas rentable by type, name and area. Ducts by flow and velocity. HVAC zones by name. Pipes by pressure drop and flow. And then spaces by name. They're all pre-set up. On the energy side, so we've obviously located this and set this up to metric information based on our location. So it's a bit better than the out-of-the-box Revit stuff, which is based on the US. Site settings, so contours, secondary and primary, cut patterns and materials, poche base, units and all that sort of stuff has all been assigned. Big one being view templates. So there is a view template for every single type of view, and these are actually assigned to the view types themselves. So when you actually create a new slab setup plan, it already has the slab setup plan view template applied to it. You'll see there's numerous different styles for 3D views, so hidden line with shadows and a background, realistic with shadows, sketchy shaded views, white card with shadows and red curtain background. So lots of different 3D appearances on the architectural side. So we've got the A for architectural prefix. Then you have all your different types of views. So there's ones for schedules, one for plans, elevation sections, every single type of view you'd ever create. Then you've got your your coordination plans, electrical, fire, hydraulic, mechanical, and then 3D has its own, structural has its own 3D view types, styles. And then there's again a whole bunch of those, and all of those have the appropriate filters assigned. So you'll see in here, I'm running 2015 at the moment, so unfortunately if I look in these, they're actually not going to be in any particular order, but as you know, 2016 R2 and 2017 lists them alphabetically, so it's much easier to find the ones you want. But again, there's a standard naming system to these as well, so it's the family category that it applies to, followed by the parameter data and the rule that's actually assigned to it. So it's all follows a common practice, so it makes things easier to find. Filters, so we did filters. Next one is section types. So with all the view types, this is what I was getting at. So we have detail view types all set up. We have building sections for all disciplines already pre-set up, so you can just draw them. And if I go into any of the properties of those, you can see they have the view template already applied, ready to go, and all their call out and section tag data are set up. So any new view that you create with this particular template will have the view template assigned automatically. And there are options in there for working sections and things like that as well. So there's your architectural working section there. Likewise, same sort of thing applies for callouts. So we have detail-based ones, then we have all our different floor plan callouts. So if we're going to create a floor plan, you'll see there's, you know, want to create a new roof plan, I can do that. Setup plans, sketch, containment plans. So again, all your common view types ready to go out of the box without having to go and set anything up. Same sort of thing for reflected ceiling plans. So we have architectural reflected ceilings, electrical lighting plans, HVAC. Same sort of thing with structural. So block work, concrete, core, precast, steel. And then with our elevations, as I was saying earlier, we have options for building elevations, glazing elevations. Glazing elevations are automatically hidden from all views, so you don't see them, but you can still have them appear in your graphical glazing schedule. Internal room elevations, so you'll see they look like this. If I go and tick on all the other corners. Okay, so they've got a different appearance to your normal elevation. And again, all that stuff is scalable, so there's A1 and A3 versions of that. I've already shown a lot of the legends, and similarly with the schedules, so the schedules, again, they all follow a naming system, so A for architectural, E for electrical, hydraulic, M mechanical, S structural, and then XX for just like the ones that we use for editing, and there's some Xrev ones in there for quickly deleting sheets and views. So say you did a project and you're not doing the mechanical on it, so you can just delete the mechanical set out of the project. That's the intent of those particular view schedules. On the Manage tab, project information. So here's where we have all that RP data in there. We do have a template version, so you can always, and there is a template tracking document that we keep, so you can always see what's changed in the latest version and that sort of stuff. In terms of project parameters, there's a lot of ANZRS parameters that have been added, as well as some other non-ANZRS or BIM MapOz parameters that have been added as required. Detail levels have been defined, phases. So we have existing new construction administration. So the last phase is for graphical schedules, doors, windows, wall legends. It's a workaround basically to be able to model elements and not have them quantified in your schedules by putting them in a future phase. We have phase filters for all the different options, and they're a little bit clearer in terms of their naming than the out-of-the-box one. We don't refer to previous and that sort of stuff. So, and then graphic overrides. So what material gets applied when they're overridden and all that sort of stuff. and the hatch patterns and so on and so forth. We've also thought about starting mark values. So when you first place a door or a window, it should start with 1. Chain settings in your sketch modes have all been switched on. All things have been, all those little things that you might not think of have been considered. And in terms of the actual content when you purchase the templates, you also get all this annotation content. So they're all your tags and your symbols. So brace in plan, connection symbols, structural area reinforcement symbols, all that sort of stuff is in there. And likewise, there's a bunch of profiles that have been set up because I didn't get into fascias and gutters and PFCs which are in the stairs, mullion profiles, stair nosings and treads, as well as your title blocks. So there's the A1 and the A3 versions in there. Okay, so that's the template, and that leaves us about 5 minutes to get on the structural content, but thankfully I have a project set up, so it shouldn't take too long. All right, so this is the structural content. Obviously, it's not all the structural content, it's a selection of the structural content. So we have a couple of columns loaded here. If I just quickly go and load another one. So these are all the structural columns you get. So there's aluminium, concrete, steel, and timber. And the steel are all to a particular standard. They are based on one steel data. So let's just load a PFC, for example. Has all the metadata assigned, weight calculations. It has maximum length calculations and things like that. So you do get warning messages if you are exceeding the maximum stock lengths available for those particular section types. They do have coarse, medium, fine control. So you see there it's just showing you it's single line at the moment. But if I go to medium, we start seeing thickness, and at fine, we start seeing fillets. Okay, and if we have a look in some of the properties, so we have surface finish parameters, so whether it's painted, powder coated, galvanized. We have, so this is our mass per unit length. We have maximum length calculations based on section types, as mentioned. All the proper, so all the structural, most of the structural content, all the steel content is in 2016. All the other stuff's 2015, so we'll work on all future versions. We've got all the structural analysis data assigned based on one steel data, and it does say that down here. So structural properties based upon AS 3679.1 2010 and one steel data. We have our assembly codes. We have the section name keys and code names assigned. So it will and should work with the steel connection tools. And then we have section area net and gross information as well. So all the applicable ANSARs parameter types. The concrete stuff, you'll see we have reinforcement rate parameters as well. And for our beams, for example, so bridging, we actually have the connection plates as an option. So coarse, medium, fine control, of course, like so. We have lapping capabilities. So with all the beams, you have the ability to, let's set this back to coarse, control the stick symbol offset. So stick symbol offset vertical as well as horizontally. We also have control over the cutbacks for start and end as well. So your stick symbol can have finish exactly where you want them to be. We also have weight calculations in here as well. And there's steel, aluminium. So let's go back to the folder so I can quickly show you. So there's all our steel sections. So we have aluminium, concrete. So concrete, we have chamfer options for both sides, one side or none. And we also just have a triangular based section. We have our bridging. We have our channels or steel section types, cold formed and others, as well as timber. And you'll see in the type catalogues, we have options for hardwood and pine-based, kiln-dried, unseasoned hardwood, all based on common Australian practices. With the footings and things like that, foundations, we have pad footing types, and again, they're extensive type catalogues of all the different size options, reinforcement rates, and strength concrete, so you can go and find the one that you want as quickly as possible. With the pile caps, so the pile cap family itself, you'll see here, you can specify exactly how many pile caps you want, and you can control the clearance and the depth of the cap and the pile cap type. So if I have a look in here, there's actually two ways of defining a pile cap with its piles. You can specify down here the cap size, and obviously the cap size will be the size that you specify. Or you can have it, if that's not selected, it'll be calculated, and there's tooltips built into here as well. It'll be calculated based on the pile spacing and clearance parameters, and you can set what type of pile you actually want. So maybe I wanted a steel pile on that one, and you can obviously control the number of piles, and you'll see the layouts change as you specify different numbers. Right up to 9 is what we allow. And then with the piles themselves, so we have round steel concrete filled piles, rectangular concrete piles, round concrete piles, timber piles, and screw piles as well. And with our pile caps, we obviously have round options as well as rectangular options. I think that wraps it up. So is there any questions that I need to answer, Ken?
Yeah, mate, there's a few that we've got here. Let me have a look. There's a few that I've answered along the way, so I've answered the relevant ones publicly. The question around keynoting.
Yep.
In template, is there any keynotes set up?
There, let's go back to the template. Let's go down to, honestly, I have to check. Where are we?
Top there, no.
No. So yeah, we have an out of the box just because it's a pretty, everyone does things their own way. But yeah, if there could be a future update that we do, if people can, we have a few people that all agree on the same sort of keynoting system, then yeah, happy to implement that. Yep,
cool. Question regarding global parameters in 16 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, we haven't set up anything in the template itself. I did consider whether or not we added global parameters for the spacings of the grids out of the box. Like we added some dimensions here and created global parameters for the, so you could just actually set it from a parameter rather than having to go and move it. But unfortunately, because we can't resize this scope box with a parameter either, because you can't dimension to a scope box, I couldn't really see the value in that. But yeah, I haven't come up with anything that would be useful out of the box in a template for global parameters. If people have suggestions, again, I'm happy to look at implementing something like that. Just every use I've thought of a global parameter has sort of been more project specific and not so much template based.
Yep, fair enough. Another question regarding wall in the template for wall and roof, do you have anything that includes SIP panels?
SIP being, what's SIP? Structural
Yes.
insulated panel? Is that what it means?
I think so, yes.
Yep. Yeah, there's insulated panels here. So you have 100 mil, 150 and 200 or steel insulated panels. So then you got your 1 mil mild steel either side of that with a polystyrene core.
Yep.
So there's floors, walls and ceiling versions of all of those, and there's roofs. You've got, your let's scroll down. Oh no, up. Roofs. I thought I had insulated panels. Yeah, I do have the same thing for roofs, or like Bondor and all that sort of stuff. Equivalent, but in a generic version. They're all flat feet versions, these ones, not corrugated feet or anything like that.
Yeah. And in the title block with the project or sheet numbering, does that support if you wanted to use 3 digits instead of 2 digits? It supports that okay?
Yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, I mean, there should be room in terms of, the main thing it's really going to affect would be the tags, but it looks like they could fit an extra digit because they're centered. So if that grew a little bit out there and grew a little bit out there, it should still fit within the size circles that I've got. But that said, all these tags for elevations and section markers do have a parameter to control the radius of them. So
yep.
If you needed to make them slightly larger, it wouldn't be very hard.
Yep. Cool. And I'm not sure what this one is. ViewRef don't have tags, how to get around. That's a bit of a cryptic question that I don't quite understand. There was another question, do we have a view with the tags laid out so we can see what they look like?
I don't have one like that, but obviously we could do that. That's not hard. I could very quickly create a legend with all the symbols laid out.
Yep.
Because obviously, yeah, that's the one good thing about a legend. You can place tags in a legend quite easily.
Yep. Sounds good. Well, I think we've covered off everything else there, so that looks good. Thank you very much for your time, Chris, and showing us through what looks like an excellent sort of template to get you started on and I think many people have not put near as much thought into their templates as what you've got in there, so that's fantastic.
All right, well, yeah, like always, I really want people's feedback. So if anyone does use it or purchase it, then, we do, and you find issues or there's something that's not quite right, or there's an idea you've got to add to it, let us know so we can keep improving it. This is not a template, like I say to all my clients that I develop custom templates for, is it's not a fixed thing. It should be always evolving and improving, and there might be a particular schedule that you used in a project that you want to add into it, or maybe you're finding you're making a visibility change in a view template all the time, so maybe we should just make that change in the template rather than having to make the change every time in a project. So we need feedback.
Sounds good. Just last of all, can you bring up your web browser and go to contentlounge.com.au for me, please? Okay, so this is the website. You can obviously you can access the content here, or of course you can talk to any representative at A2K Technologies. We can also grant you access. So as I said, you can go here to purchase the content directly from the website. or even if you're just looking to see what's available and you want to talk to a A2K representative, this is also sort of works as a bit of a catalogue as well. So thank you everyone for your time today. Appreciate that, and hope you got something out of it.